When your period is unpredictable or goes missing for months at a time, it's easy to feel like your body is broken. You might be told it's just a hormone problem with no clear cause or solution. But here's the powerful idea nobody tells you. For a huge number of women with PCOS, that unpredictable cycle isn't starting in the ovaries. It's a story that begins on your plate. It's an insulin story. And understanding that one link gives you a lever to gently guide your system back into rhythm. For many women with PCOS, the advice is often to wait it out, or take a pill, and just hope the calendar behaves. That feels vague, passive, and out of your hands. But what if there was a clearer biological lever you could actually turn, a way to speak your body's language to encourage balance from the inside out? The core idea is this. Insulin, the hormone that manages your blood sugar, also talks directly to your ovaries. When your diet causes big, frequent insulin swings, it's like a constant shout that disrupts the quieter hormonal conversations needed for a regular cycle. Taming that insulin signal can, for many, bring back the predictable rhythm. This isn't about a fad diet. It's about understanding how certain foods change fundamental hormone signals. This matters profoundly because polycystic ovary syndrome is one of the most common hormonal conditions in women, affecting up to 12% of those of reproductive age. That represents millions of people navigating not just unpredictable cycles, but also the deep frustration of infertility, metabolic risks that can echo for decades, and the emotional weight of feeling at odds with their own body. So when we find a clear biological lever, one that connects our daily choices to our hormonal harmony, it's more than just interesting. It's a pathway to agency. Here is the link most people miss. Somewhere between half and two-thirds of women with PCOS also have insulin resistance. This simply means the body's cells have become a bit deaf to insulin's signal, so the pancreas has to produce more and more of it to get the job done. This state of high circulating insulin, called hyperinsulinemia, is what sets the stage for hormonal disruption. If high insulin is the root issue, then managing your body's demand for insulin is the most direct lever you can pull. You do not need a complicated hack. You need a sustainable way to lower your insulin load on most days. That is where a thoughtful reduction in sugars and refined starches comes in, because they are the foods that demand the biggest insulin response. Let's zoom in on the beautiful, simple mechanism. Your liver produces a protein called sex hormone-binding globulin, or SHBG. Think of it as a hormonal taxi service. Its job is to bind to hormones like testosterone and escort them through your bloodstream, keeping them inactive until they're needed. High levels of insulin, however, tell the liver to slow down production of these taxis. With fewer taxis available, more free, active testosterone is left to wander around the system, knocking on doors it shouldn't. At the same time, high insulin has a second, more direct effect. It speaks directly to cells in the ovaries, telling them to produce more androgens, like testosterone. So you get a double hit: fewer SHBG taxis to manage the hormones you have, and a direct signal to produce even more. This higher androgen environment can disrupt the delicate dance of follicle development, preventing an egg from fully maturing and being released. Ovulation stalls, cycles stretch out, and you might notice the physical signs like persistent acne or unwanted hair growth. Now, let's flip the switch. When you consistently lower your intake of sugar and refined starches, insulin demand drops. The liver gets the signal to build more SHBG taxis. The ovaries get less of a direct nudge to overproduce androgens. With a calmer hormonal environment, follicles get a clearer path to mature. Ovulation has a much better shot at showing up, right on schedule. This is where you often hear about the ketogenic diet. A typical keto approach involves keeping carbohydrates very low, often under 50 grams a day, which prompts the body to produce ketones for fuel. But for cycle regulation in PCOS, the primary benefit is likely not some magic from the ketones themselves. The win comes from dramatically lowering insulin exposure over time. This also means you may not need to be strictly ketogenic to see benefits. Some women find their sweet spot with a more moderate carb, low glycemic approach. The goal is the same: fewer blood sugar spikes, calmer insulin, and more predictable cycles. The dial can be turned down significantly without having to turn it all the way to zero. We're about to dive into the evidence and a practical example. If you appreciate finding these clear levers for complex problems, take a moment to subscribe. We create one simple, powerful idea per video to help you get a little sharper every day. So, what does the evidence say? While large-scale trials are still needed, the early signals are promising. One small but frequently cited 24-week pilot study put women with PCOS on a ketogenic eating pattern. Among those who completed the study, average body weight fell by about 12%. Even more importantly, percent-free testosterone dropped by about 22%. In that same small study, 2 pregnancies occurred among participants who had previously struggled with infertility. This is not definitive proof for everyone, but it's a powerful signal that for some, restoring metabolic health can directly restore ovulation and fertility. It's a clue worth paying attention to. Mainstream clinical guidelines add another piece to the puzzle. They consistently note that losing just 5 to 10% of body weight is often enough to improve insulin sensitivity and restart ovulation in women with PCOS. The point is not crash dieting. It's about achieving a modest metabolic shift that allows the body's natural signaling to come back online. Let's walk through a realistic 12-week example. Imagine a 29-year-old with cycles that stretch anywhere from 60 to 90 days. She decides to focus not on a diet label, but on a principle: lower the insulin demand. Her rules are simple. Every meal starts with protein. She fills her plate with non-starchy vegetables. Sugary drinks are out. Packaged cookies and pastries are out. No fancy apps, just a clear intention. So how does she eat? She isn't counting every gram, but she keeps her daily carbohydrate intake in the ballpark of 50 to 75 grams. This isn't about deprivation. It's about smart swaps. Her carbs now come from nutrient-dense sources: a scoop of lentils, a handful of berries, or a small portion of sweet potato, always paired with protein and fat. She builds her meals around things like eggs, chicken, salmon, and tofu, and fills the rest of the plate with leafy greens, broccoli, and avocados. The focus shifts from what to remove to what to build a meal around. It's a strategy of abundance, not restriction. By week 6, the changes aren't just on the calendar. The afternoon energy crashes that used to require a cookie to fix are gone. Cravings feel less like urgent demands and more like quiet suggestions. Her skin, which was a constant source of frustration, starts to clear. The scale has moved a little, but the biggest change is how she feels: more stable, more energized, and less hungry between meals. By the end of 12 weeks, she is down about 7% of her body weight, right in that 5 to 10% clinical sweet spot. Her lab work shows improved triglycerides, and the real prize? Her next 2 cycles land at 34 and 36 days. This regularity is a strong indicator that ovulation has returned, a direct result of the metabolic shift she created, which happened long before any dramatic weight change. So how can you apply this idea without going to extremes? The first step is to simply lower your overall insulin demand. Swap sugary drinks for water or herbal tea. Scale back refined grains like white bread, big bowls of pasta, and sugary cereals. Instead, build your meals around protein and fiber. Add healthy fats from sources like olive oil, avocados, and nuts to keep you full and satisfied. Next, find your own lane. Some people thrive at very low ketogenic levels of carbohydrate. Others do wonderfully with a more moderate, low glycemic pattern. The best guide is your body's response. The signal is your cycle regularity, your energy levels, and how you feel between meals. It's an experiment of one, with you in the driver's seat. One very important safety note. If you are on any medications that affect blood sugar, like metformin or insulin, any significant dietary change must be coordinated with a clinician. Lowering your carbohydrate intake can change your medication needs very quickly. Having professional support makes the process safe and effective. Instead of obsessing over the scale, track the signals that truly matter. Monitor your cycle length and its consistency. You can also pay attention to subtle mid-cycle clues that suggest ovulation, like changes in body temperature if you track that. In your lab work, watch for improvements in fasting insulin and the pattern of your triglycerides and HDL cholesterol over time. And remember this key insight. Hormonal shifts often show up before significant weight loss does. The calendar might start to regulate weeks or months before the mirror shows a dramatic change. That is a real, tangible win. If you feel better, your energy is more stable, and your labs are improving, you are on the right track. Now for the crucial caveats. This approach is powerful, but not all irregular cycles are driven by insulin. Conditions like thyroid disorders or high prolactin levels need different treatments. And hypothalamic amenorrhea, where the cycle stops due to high stress, undereating, or overexercising, actually requires the opposite approach: more fuel, not less. Also, combining very low carbs with very low calories and intense workouts can backfire. Your body needs sufficient energy to feel safe enough to ovulate. For some individuals, a very low-carb diet can also cause a sharp rise in LDL cholesterol. This is why working with a knowledgeable care team and adjusting based on your results is so important. If this idea resonates, here is a simple experiment you could consider. An idea, not an instruction. For 4 to 8 weeks, focus solely on lowering the glycemic load of your diet. Remove sugary drinks. Shrink refined starch portions. Anchor every single meal with protein and non-starchy vegetables. Then, just observe. See how your body responds. During this time, watch 3 main signals. First, does your cycle timing begin to improve? Second, do your afternoon energy levels feel more stable? Third, do intense cravings begin to ease? If your cycles lengthen further or you consistently feel worse, that's valuable feedback. It's a sign to pause and reassess with a professional. So here is the reframe you can carry with you. Carbohydrates are not a moral issue. They are a biological tool. For the many women with insulin-resistant PCOS, they act as a dial for hormonal signaling. Turning that dial down isn't a punishment. It's a form of communication with your body. It's a way to quiet the metabolic noise so your natural rhythms can be heard again. Food becomes a lever for partnership with your biology, not a life sentence of restriction. You can tune it season by season as your body changes and gives you feedback. If this idea shifted your perspective, consider subscribing to Knowledge Worth Sharing. Our goal is to bring you one powerful, practical idea at a time, spanning health, money, focus, and decisions to help you navigate life with a little more clarity. Thanks for spending your time with us. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.